A report out this week shows a significant increase in discrimination cases in 2022 against Muslims in New Jersey compared to the previous year. The New Jersey chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations published its annual civil rights report, revealing a 46% spike in discrimination incidents. Now, the bulk of complaints came from the workplace and schools. Unlike previous years, FBI and law enforcement surveillance complaints decreased. That's an important piece of the data, according to the organization, which says it shows the face of anti-Muslim bigotry is evolving. To get a deeper look at what's inside the report and examples of common discrimination being experienced here, I'm joined by Dina Syed Ahmed, the communications manager for CAIR NJ. Dina, we look to these reports every year to give us a sense of what's happening within the community. What can you tell us about some of the major findings?
So something that was very interesting in this report this year is that we found a 46% increase in the number of cases that we received. So in 2021, we received 104 cases. This past year in 2022, that number jumped to 152 cases.
And were they across the board in terms of all hate bias incidents? Did they run the gamut? Talk to me about that.
So we've seen a few different categories. We've seen some cases within law enforcement, FBI. We've seen cases with schools, which tripled from the year before. We've seen a lot of employment tripled from just 9 cases in 2021 to 27 in 2022.
And that's just what's been reported.
And that's just what's been reported. These numbers, a caveat that we often add is that these cases are often, or the numbers that we have are deflated because students, parents, employees, employers, they often don't report cases because they're afraid of retaliation, which is, it's a valid fear. So all these numbers that we have are deflated, and we suspect that the reality is much, much higher. And
I'm curious to know how these incidents are playing out, because in years past, and particularly during the pandemic, it was threats, right, because everyone wasn't together. Are they turning to violence, physical, verbal threats? How are they actually playing out?
So it's a mix of, violent threats. There's a mix of verbal threats. You see some retaliation in workplaces. In one of the cases that we have in this report, an employee was physically assaulted by his employer. But then you also have other cases where students are forbidden from establishing an MSA, for example. And then going back to just the violent cases, you also had two teenage girls in a Clifton nail salon that were also physically assaulted. So it's a mix of verbal assaults, physical assaults, stopping students or employees from practicing their religious faith.
What does it tell us about bias or anti-Muslim bias? Is it on the rise? Is it about where it's been over the last several years?
So it's hard to say that it's on the rise. There could be a few different factors that are at play over here. We did expand our staff capacity over the past year, so we are fielding a lot more cases simply because we have a larger capacity. But it is possible that anti-Muslim bigotry is on the rise. We wouldn't be able to say that just based on this report. We'd have to wait a few years to be able to make that judgment, or to be able to make any judgment call on the rise or decline of anti-Muslim hate.
As an advocacy group, I know you all make recommendations for policymakers. What's the key takeaway for what actions can be done?
For policymakers, we do advise that they speak with Muslims, that they have Muslims on their councils, for example, to get an idea of what it is that Muslims in New Jersey need and what they're experiencing. For ordinary citizens, we often encourage people to take a look at this report, to use the resources that CAIR New Jersey and CAIR National provide to better understand your Muslim employees, employers, your classmates, your neighbor, your friends even, just to get a better idea of what their needs are and how you can be an ally to them.
Dina Syed Ahmed with CAIR New Jersey, thank you so much.
Thank you.